Atlantis needs to exist more in the future than in the past. For this to make sense, you need to understand so much about the nature of time. Time, as you know it, is one petal in a flower. It is one petal that unfolds and returns to the center. This is not a process you can embrace without trust, because by necessity it dissolves what you know of as real. This is purposeful. You have brought essentially negative karma to this planet. Once you bring it, it's up to you to negotiate the future. You are creating reality with others, and the way you choose to bargain with this is the foundation for what happens next. The lie of this is something that you accepted and embraced. You embraced the foundations of the timeline that you are a part of. And along with this embrace came the opportunity to look deeper. In looking deeper, you find clues that lead to a much more remarkable story. And that story is true. By every measure you understand to be real, Atlantis existed. And what we created then was as much a true story as an invitation to create it again. It is the invitation to create again that you are being asked to embrace. This creation is a function of possibility. For this to make sense, you must embrace a deep comprehension of the foundations of what you know of to be real. What you know of as real has a foundational canvas, and within this canvas are certain principles. And one principle that you have been largely unable to question is the way in which forces are pitted against each other. This polarization has been necessary, purposeful, and it is time to change. In more ways than you understand, the earth gathers energy. Over long periods of time, she gets bigger. Souls from all over bring energy in the form of karma here. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, but it can change phase. Potential energy becomes kinetic energy. Well, in a similar exchange, there are multiple levels of energetic presence that create balance, that are all associated with the earth. Layer upon layer of existence stays, thrives, and begins again in new ways. Some of it is sifted to become material. The earth is essentially eating karmic energy in the form of a density that is not wanted by beings that are free to travel through space. In the process of this exchange, you, as a soul that brings something here, gain both the ability to release what you do not want and to bond, exchange, share, experience in ways that you otherwise would be unable to experience. However, many souls have a low priority on the actual experience they have here. This low priority comes from their love of existence beyond anything having to do with these densities. As a result, it is tempting to essentially get it over with. When someone chooses to incarnate in a way that typically gets it over, they are creating a reckless form of interaction that digests this energy quickly. This is the primary reason that suffering exists, because the foundational timeline that you have understood as reality is designed to get it over with. And in the process, beings are scripted to live through scenarios that are horrible, truly terrible to experience. Yet they are the negative. They are the negative for a reality that you return to. When you gaze at the negative of an image, it is everything that that image will not be in color. This dynamic is fundamental to the intentional creation of reality. And it is a big part of why you have lived in what you experience as a lie. Make no mistake, this is not a conspiracy in which others have lied to you. You lied to yourself. You accepted it wholeheartedly, on purpose, to move through it. And as a consequence, your entire focus has been here on this timeline. And it gives you the opportunity to live, to release, and to leave. When someone experiences the earth in this way, they do not see the love that we embrace. And this is intentional. We don't want beings who are not capable of cherishing what we hold most dear to even see it, not to even think it. The reverence of a myth, the reverence of a myth is far more of a gift than the kind of scrutiny that would come otherwise. Understand the way of life that we lived in Atlantis is completely different than anything else you know of as real in all of the sequences of what you call human history. And this fundamental departure from what you know, bear witness. In order to access this, it is a fundamental departure from what you know of to be real. And so, as you begin to imagine it, I lead you through this introduction. We did not fight in none of the ways you know of as normal. Competition was not a normal form of generating reality. You know of competition as normal. It pits forces against each other in a way that is fundamentally childish. And the best analogy that you can embrace is that when you push against another force, it creates a form of stability. It is akin to someone leaning against a wall when they learn to stand. But because there are no walls in a reality that is in the process of being created, you lean against each other and you push with hostility in a form that generates a degree of stability for both involved. And this functions between individuals, between communities, and between cultures. But on the grand scale and on the personal scale, this is a very fragile dynamic to rely upon, because every time it goes wrong, it becomes a fight. And fights generate the most extreme form of intensity, and that extreme form of intensity exists. It exists. It is a vibration, and frequently it is a boundary. It is a vibration beyond which you cannot go. And when anyone attempts to, it becomes violence. And when it becomes violence, it is loose. And it is preferable to pit loose intensities of this extreme nature against each other in order to eventually generate a level of stability. Why do you need to know this? Because you cannot see us with the imagination you bring to this story. There is no purpose in convincing you to believe in a fantasy that is essentially inaccurate. You must begin with a recognition that the kind of love that we live was the foundation for the love that we lived in Atlantis. And we were incarnated into a denser vibration than we had been incarnated into. It was the petal of a flower, and it was incomplete. It was not finished. It is you that will be invited to complete it. What we did was real on its own. It existed, and from your perspective, it fell. But realistically, truly, we wanted it to. It was necessary. It was, in one way, an experience that we shared, and in another, an advertisement for what is possible here. It is a very grand form of art to design a reality and then to invite others to share in it. And so, by measures that are difficult to communicate to you, the Atlantis that can be real in the future will be more real than the one that is just beyond your memory. And it is you who will make it this. Will you join us? It is in the wanting that you make it real. It is in the wanting that you choose it. And to choose this is to agree to stay, to stay on a planet that you must participate in cleansing, to remain here for another 13,000 years. We work in cycles. It is seasonal, the grand scale of this. We point away and we return in the same way that winter and summer are the apex of heat. This is the apex of a different form of heat. You were invited to be present through the dark. You were asleep. This entire time has been asleep.